So this is the beginning of the Exodus, and I'm not quite sure if I can explain the whys. It's so much easier when you're talking to somebody else instead of a glass box. But I've decided in this moment of my life to make some huge changes, and I guess I can start with where I'm coming from and why. And there was a few things that have happened to me in my life where I was able to create certain things. You see, I'm the the best thing I can see is that it's kind of like being a man with a woman, right? And what it is said, and I don't quite understand it, is that women don't really want your help when they're in peril, when they're having issues, they're crying, and they're very upset. What they want you to do is just hold them, listen to them, acknowledge them, and let them go through what they need to go through. And it's very difficult being a male of wanting to fix things, especially if you're what possibly with myself is I think I'm a type A personality where I got to get things done. So it's very difficult for me to see a problem. You know, I'm the type of person that runs towards every single problem in my life. If I see any problems around me, things that don't even involve me, I think of things like, well, how can I help this person? How can I solve this problem? And as the world is kind of like a woman, I'm not degrading women in any form or fashion here at all, but this is just how I see it, is that the world, the people that are living in this world, that are affecting this world, our environment, the species, through multiple dimensions, don't want to be helped. They don't want to have any change happen. Not to say that women don't want change. I find the woman's breast the hardest mountain to climb is a quote from the mountain man. I'd never found, I can't find tracks in a woman's heart to follow. Again, not degrading women, but where I'm coming from is I got a few things that happened in my life where I wanted to grow my own food. I've always known that there's a problem with the food that we are purchasing in the grocery stores, the way it's grown. I mean, there's plenty of stuff, doomsday, glyphosate and all this kind of stuff that they're spraying on foods and feeding the cattle. You think that you're eating keto or low carb and you're still getting in all these oils and stuff they're sneaking in, and just there's just a myriad of reasons, logical reasons if one is open to look into these details, and that's all over the internet. So I set out to say, hey, what can I do about this situation? I will grow my own food. I'm only one person. You can check out my channel if you'd like. It's called the BC Gardening Guy. That's B as in boy, C as in cat, Gardening Guy. And I might have changed it to the Sustainable Solutionist. I think that's what I did, the Sustainable Solutionist. I don't know. I have so many damn fucking channels all over the place. But essentially, what I did is I knew that I could not find people. I can't change people. I can't change the world by myself. I can only do with what I can do within my circle, within my ability. So one day, believe it or not, when I used to drink alcohol and a very, very severe hangover, I invented the gardening system, the BC gardening system, the biodegradable container gardening. And I've been formulating and engineering this specifically for one person to be able to handle large food production. And it's all automated for the most part for watering and things like that. And it was all the theme of how can we save the planet, grow our food in a regenerative, sustainable way that would actually feed the soil and not have to kill or harm any insects, animals, anything in nature whatsoever. And I successfully built that and demonstrated. And I would like to go in a lot of detail about it if anybody's ever interested. Probably a good whiteboard video because I tore the whole thing down as it made no significant difference to the world. At a point, I was up to about 35,000 followers, I think, on Instagram, and not one single person was interested in me pursuing it. There was not much feedback, right? I think that what happened, the lesson I learned is that many people are in love with the idea and vicariously wanted to support me with some likes and shares, which helped out my channel. I mean, I think that one of my videos got almost, I think, 750,000 views, but not much action. You see, I'm not about the views. I'm not about, emotional support and things like that. What I was looking for is people to help me spread the word and actually teach people how to build these systems, because it's regenerative. It's not only does it not hurt, kill it, almost anything, it actually rebuilds the soil and brings habitat for microbiology like worms and bugs and frogs and all kinds of things. So it was one of the biggest life achievements I think I've done. It was about that time when I quit, and I said, because I put all my money into it, I must have invested somewhere in the vicinity of like $25,000 to $30,000 over 7 years of materials and my time. I mean, it's probably well over $30,000. It could have been a down payment on a house, and I just believed in it so much that I gave everything that I had towards it. And it was very depressing to feel like it was rejected, like a rejection, right? So I come from that, where how much proof does one need for free to show that there is something that we can do about our present situation, both economically and environmentally. And the world, it seemed, rejected it for some strange reason. So I quit. And right about that time is when I actually got diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. And I did the same thing in the type 2 diabetes. I said, well, let's make lemonade out of lemons. You got diabetes. Let's figure this whole thing out, and let's see if we can, put this behind us. And that's exactly what I did. So that after 7 years of gardening and about 3 years of type 2 diabetes, which I put in full remission, I mean, I pretty much can eat whatever I want, do whatever I want now. It's behind me. And I set out to help other people. And I thought to myself, wow, if people aren't interested in saving the planet, growing their own food, eating healthier, creating soil, living sustainable, through this new method, then maybe, not maybe, I was like, well, there's millions of people contracting type 2 diabetes, and they're going to need help. And if I've done this and I'm able to do this, and I started getting results instantly, like within 2.5 months, I got my blood sugars back down to normal. And I was like, wow. And I really went for it. I was hardcore. And at that point, I knew that I was going to pretty much beat this. And I documented, and I set out again, investing thousands of dollars and lots of time off work, and thinking that, you know what, there's no way that people wouldn't want my help. This is way more powerful than saving the world through gardening. This is saving people's lives. And I did have a few people who said, you've changed my life, you've saved my life, but not very many. Right. And I think it's my style, maybe not polished or what, because I notice a lot of other content creators who have more fancy editing and things like that. It could be my demeanor, I don't know. But that really shook me there. But that gave me a gauge. Both of these endeavors that I've set out on taught me a lot, that the world is just not going to change. It does not want to change. I think, letting the world die and us destroying and polluting it and eating the shit food was one thing, but finding out that, it's understandable that, to me, I don't support it, that most people don't even care about the environment, about the animals going extinct and the pollution that's happening and all the horrible things in our world. I think that they're just not educated enough to know how drastic this whole situation is, how we are pretty much destroying the planet in ways that mathematicians, scientists, and environmentalists are showing that, hey, some of this may never be reversible. We may have done too much damage as it is, and if we stay on this route, we're going to burn this whole shit show up. The movie's over. So I understand how people can say, well, It's not at my front door. It's very easy to buy packaged foods and things like that. But even when it came down to type 2 diabetes, where you can get amputations, you can go blind. I mean, for Christ's sakes, erectile dysfunction, that didn't even get attention, right? A lot of men out there, you guys don't know that having insulin resistance actually screws with your blood vessels, your blood flow. It's like having syrup compared to water, and it makes things, let's just imagine stickiness, right? And it affects your brains. That's why you go blind. That's why you have rot in your legs or your arms, any kind of your limbs. It's basically gunked up, and your body can't flow very well anymore. And over time, amputations, heart attacks, strokes, erectile dysfunction, blindness, to mention just a few. All of these things, your organs, your brain, everything's attached to this. But finding out that people don't want to even save their own lives, that's when it got me. Was like, well, fuck the world. Let's just let all the animals and insects and the environment go to hell. But when it comes down to yourself, you're still not willing to do anything. And this is when I said, wow, we are pretty much at the end. There's nothing more I can do here. I'm not going to keep going on the sob story, but the end for me was proving, because I know that there's a lot of fake shit out there and a lot of fake content creators. So what I did is I actually went live and ate about 2 tablespoons of raw honey on an empty stomach with a contraption called a continuous glucose monitor and a glucometer, a finger stick. So 2 points of measurements where the continuous glucose monitor measures on a graph updated every 5 minutes to show you exactly what's happening. I kept doing finger sticks with real blood on a second device to prove that, look, what I did is real. I mean, I didn't know that my blood sugars were just going to stay stable through the whole thing. It was a big surprise to me. I thought at least I was going to have a spike that went up pretty high and then come back down to normal, like someone without type 2 diabetes. But it was actually pretty astounding. And there's nothing, no video, nothing I can say, do, perform that would top that. And that didn't get any action. So I've come to realize that I need to grow my own food. I need to basically go on my own journey and divorce the rat race, the human race. Most people in general, I wouldn't say all, but 99.9% don't get it. There's no conversations that I can have. And I'm really kind of hoping that I could build a home for the people who get it, those of intellect that can see what's going on around them with the environment, with our health, with our education, with our spirituality, with even our minds are being taken over by these little fucking devices. People can't get off these phones, right? And it's affecting our thinking. I didn't even know till I think it was day before yesterday where people are literally going to rehab because they can't put their phones away. We are in a major turning point for humanity, and I'm just talking about growing our own food and type 2 diabetes, our health, getting our weights down and everything, and not even into our spirituality, our own minds. And I equate this to a monster that doesn't even know it's a monster, and that's the most evilest thing that you can have. Because a monster has sharp teeth, ugly face, blood all over it, right? Terrifying thing. You know that it's a monster. And the monster knows that it's a monster. But the most terrifying thing to me is something that walks around called the Homo sapien, who is literally destroying its own bed, burning its own environment down to the ground, and also applying this to itself. And in a language that we can all understand, if we show it, we show numbers and we show scientific data. And I mean, for diabetes, nobody needs to show you anything, really. You can feel it. You're overweight. You can know that you are not as sharp as you used to be. You got low energy, right? All the signs, they all pop up. So you have to, at some point, I think, turn your back on humanity and give up if you've put enough effort like I have. If someone says, did you try? I would say that 7 years to 8 years of trying to grow my own food and show people all the amazing things that I've done to prove both the diabetes and the growing the food, is I put my work in. So this is a turning point for me to walk away and start a whole entire new life where I can apply all the things that I've done, that I've been gathering, all the information for decades, all the experiences and skills. And basically, what me and my special needs daughter, I'm a single dad, and I have an 18-year-old special needs kid in diapers, and it's just me and her. And we also saved a homeless cat that here we live in Southern California, and we were at a point because of my daughter and the work that I spent on the diabetes thing put us in financial hardship. But then immediately I had to take full control or custody of my daughter for various reasons. And now it's very difficult to even work. So we became homeless. We have a good savings that we've been living off, but we are now housed by family in this recycled pallet hut kitchen thing that I built out here. We actually have rooms in a semi-normal house kind of setting. Don't really have a kitchen, but we live pretty cowboy-ish, pretty rugged. We don't use central cooling or heating, things like that. Permaculture, sustainability, that's been my life for a long time. But what we're going to do is we're actually going to take a flight out to the state of Florida and join or help build a intentional community with a fellow out there who has a water buffalo farm, and they're already producing pretty much all their own electricity. They are hooked up to the grid for certain things they need, like charging their cars and things. But living simple, the guy told me, we pretty much have everything we need. They have their own well for water. I've chosen Florida because of all the rain that falls, so a lot of greenery for raising livestock, for drinking water. We've got everything we need. On 55 acres is enough for us to grow pretty much all of our own food. I mean, they're raising cattle, chickens, ducks, and things like that. So animals are processed. In fact, they have so much abundance with milk and meats and stuff. That's what they sell at a farmer's market. But we essentially have everything we would need to not just survive, but to thrive. And this is a journey I'll take you guys with me, where I'm moving from Southern California, possibly, to Central Florida on a 55-acre farm, and help bring people who are interested and like-minded, who want to live sustainable, live off the land, and learn. And this is where hopefully is going to be like my sandbox, my toy chest, where I can apply all the things that I've been learning over the past couple decades and continue on showing my biodegradable container gardening techniques amongst many other things. So, yeah, what's bothered me too is that I've come across, and I don't want to dilute or talk bad about anybody, but there's a lot of brilliant minds out there that are stating the problems that we have in the world. Daniel Schmachenberger is actually one of great heroes. One of the first videos when I heard about him, I saw his very first thing was to opening statement in a stadium full of people, was that he said, "This is going to be great that I'll share all this information, but pretty much what most people will do is applaud, support this, and then by tomorrow they'll be back scrolling on their phones and nothing would have changed." And I was like, that's a hell of a way to start your speaking engagement. And I was like, you have my attention right there. So I love Daniel Schmachenberger. I love, many different individuals that are out there making these big waves and disrupting the patterns that need to be disrupted in our civilization, if we even want to call it civilization. I like to call it civilization. But the problem is most of these brilliant minds spend almost 95% on talking about what's wrong and how things are screwed up, and very little about the details of what we can do to mitigate these problems. And being a content creator for well over a decade now and not getting too far is that I'll go back to the solving the problems thing, where I can't sit and listen to problems and drama and, look at these things that are broken and explain them in extreme detail like these smart individuals do for hours for too long, because sooner or later I'm like, well, okay, we know what the problem is. Well, what is the fucking solution? What are we going to do to fix this? And there's not much out there. And I think I know why. And it's because many of the content creators that I follow that do such things as permaculture, survival, regenerative farming, and things like that, when they do the doom and gloom, it gets thousands, if not millions, of views of attention. And then as soon as we start giving, they start giving ways and things that we can do, it gets some attention, but nowhere near the drama. So what this tells me too is that drama sells, and pain and doomsday stuff sells and keeps way more attention than someone just sitting the whole time talking about solutions or even showing the solutions. So I don't expect this channel and me to get too far, and that's okay, because I've talked about this before. I think that my time is done. My kind are over. I really do think that this is the last life I'll ever live, because given the choice, I don't think I'd ever want to come back to a polluted junkyard like this. And there's no place for me. Obviously, through social media and things like that, and the achievements and things that I've built don't really have much interest. But I'm hoping that there will be some. I'm hoping to show you guys exactly what it is I do, like cooking my food over fire, over a rocket mass stove, how I'm going to raise my own chickens for my own eggs, how I'm going to produce my own meats, how I will hunt and fish and forage. The only other person I know that is similar, and I've had people tell me a couple times, is Robin Greenfield. I think it's Robin Greenfield. I think he's a native to Florida, but he's out there doing a bunch of cool stuff. And I think we're pretty much on the same page. Actually, I think we're a lot on the same page. We could probably be brothers. He's not aware of me and my work. I've sent him some of my biodegradable stuff, thinking that maybe he would want to share it and promote it. I think if you ever got wind, Robin Greenfield, if you're out there, just check out my work on the BC Gardening Guy or the Sustainable Solutionist, because I can definitely add to what you're doing of trying to save the people and save the planet and the environment and such. But yeah, I don't know which direction. Like I said, I think where I was at is that my kind need to go. I must have been a mistake or something here, because, like, let me explain it this way. It's very difficult to be a person like me, to know that you can affect things positively, to possess such, and I don't care how this fucking sounds, talent to solve problems and to engineer things, and then to know, to get your, basically shadowed. So I plan on living my life quietly, just basically running the clock out, live by example, knowing I have to live this way. I'll fucking die if I don't. Like, I can't take the shitty food. I can't take how people don't even look at each other. I just took my daughter to the ER yesterday, and, I don't know what planet I come from, but usually I look people in the eye and I give them a nod of hello, I acknowledge you or smile, and most people don't even want to look at each other anymore. Not all, but the majority of people have just become zombies. And I can't live in a world like this. I can't live in a world of monsters. And I think that's where Elon Musk might be coming from, thinking that we need to go to Mars because this planet is just going to self-destruct. I think it was not Carl Sagan. Oh my God, what is his name? The guy in the wheelchair. I can't remember his name right now. He passed away. He was a very brilliant mind. Oh, the guy in the wheelchair. Boy, my brain is taking a fart. Maybe it'll come up. But he also said we need to find a different avenue to live. The Earth cannot sustain us forever, for a longer period of time. And he was deemed one of the smartest people in the world. And he was saying, I think what he didn't want to quite come out and say is say the inconveniences, the unconventionals like myself, they just can't come in and say it because they get in trouble or fear of being mocked or not accepted, is that human beings aren't going to stop. This is going to go on and on. This monster will not stop. It's a perpetual motion. It's the inconvenience of convenience, is the way I like to call it. Nobody wants to give up convenience. And in the name of convenience and comfort, we're not only destroying the planet, but destroying ourselves. And there's no rewind. There's no going back. So for those of you who are interested, and this is a really good, the body of work that I've been designing and engineering in my life, a lot of people fail, I think, at producing their own food, sustainability, and everything because they think of it in a cute way. They're not really looking at it as a realistic, like, basically I come from like a business. Like, I've been running my own business since I was 19 years old and I'm 50 now. I've learned how to manage money, how to market, how to basically run a business. And if you don't really have a good business plan to maintenance things, to keep up infrastructure, to have a plan, excuse me, then you can plan on failing. So you have to look at it realistically of how much space does it take, when you think of sustainable living, producing all your own food. How much acreage do you need per person? How many pounds of meat would one person consume? How many eggs would they need to eat? What's the cost of those eggs? How many chickens? What type of chickens? What happens as a backup if we lose all the chickens, right? What are we going to do? Is there a way to preserve excess? Like, a lot of people look and they say, well, I want to grow a whole bunch of food, and you get something like I can share with you now is, let's just say, an apricot tree. Because I've been part of farming for a very long time. And what happens with the analogy or this symbolic efforts that I'll put into this, which doesn't just mean about an apricot tree by itself, but many different things, is that apricot tree is going to produce fruit, and they're all going to ripen at the same time. Next thing you know, you've got probably about 500 pounds of apricots, and you're eating apricots until you're shitting your pants because you don't want them to go to waste. You'll try to can some and make jams and things like that. And it's just this big, big job. And you end up, most of the time, if it's not well planned out, throwing a lot of it away or putting it into compost. So knowing that I have no takers on the way that I live, I've been designing and having a marriage, which maybe some of you might find fascinating, is this is not like off grid. Let's go to throw our cell phones away, forget about AI or computing stuff, computers and the internet and things like that and machinery. It's like, well, no, there's a happy marriage between the two. And one of the things I look at is a freeze dryer. Freeze drying, if you don't know, preserves about, I think at the lowest, 95% of nutrients in food because it's freeze drying. All it's basically doing is removing the moisture. Whenever you heat something like in a dehydrator or put it out in the sun or put it in the oven, right? You make jerky or whatnot, or let's just say apricots, you have to boil it and cook it down, which kills a lot of the nutrients in the enzymes and things like that. Whereas freeze drying stabilizes a lot. And the difference is that you can freeze dry something like, what did I say, apricots, and they can last up to 25 years. So literally there is no waste if you can time it right to give you guys perspective, you can take an entire bedroom and you can fast fashion it with about a foot. I would say, especially in a place like Florida, with a foot of insulation, whether it's foam or whatever have you. You can cut a hole in the wall and actually get one of those window air conditioners, a very large one, and they have this little bypass trick that tricks the air conditioner to stay on, let's just say at 45 degrees, right? And so you can refrigerate things. You can turn a giant room into a giant refrigerator. There's also ways to do this with freezers. So if you had 500 pounds of apricots, you can start freeze drying. And what you do is you clean them all up, skin them, get rid of the seeds and everything, freeze them all, bag them all up, and then you can start freeze drying them as you need them. So, I mean, there's just ways that you can also put it in compost, people would say. But what I'm getting at here is that if you freeze dried meats and egg powders and fruits and vegetables, and I mean, hell, right now I've got some ginger. It took me probably about, I don't know, an hour to peel all the ginger. And I've got enough ginger to last me probably for 10 years, freeze dried. And I can add these to teas, to foods as medicinal properties for all kinds of different things. So for one person to be able to handle growing your own food, feeding chickens, running solar power, preserving foods, machinery definitely does help. You know, there's thermal cookware where you basically, it's like a giant thermos. You have a pot. I have one here behind me, and you cook your food. Let's just say, let's just do chicken. You can boil your chicken in this water for about 10 minutes. Let's just say you put in about 10 chicken breasts, boil it for about 10 minutes till you get the core temperature of the breast in the center nice and hot. And then you put it in this big giant thermos and close the lid. And it'll slow cook for about 8 hours. No more energy needed, like in contrast to putting in a crock pot for, say, 6, 7, 8 hours, right? It sits in this compressed unit and basically cooks itself and I've already experimented with this, but when you open the lid 8 hours later, the whole thing's still piping hot, steaming, and that chicken is just tender. So no energy at all. It's basically thermal mass cooking. There's so many tools, inventive things that people have come up with, and things that I've come up with myself to climb on the shoulders of giants and improve what they've already made and apply these things in multiple different areas. I think this is one of the best times to ever be alive if you want to be sustainable. The problem is you live a healthy, happy, spiritual and aware and awake life, but then you have to look at the monstrosity going on around you. So it's kind of a catch-22, as they say, right? There's two sides to every coin. There's actually three. There's tails, there's the heads, and then there's the edge. So speaking, let's talk about money for a minute. I know I'm all over the place. This is just kind of my first one that doesn't really have a list of things to talk about. But on education, and the reason why I want to leave the rat race, and I'm leaving the rat race, is because of money. And it's not because money is the root of all evil. I do not believe in that. And I want to keep up. I need to make some sort of money to provide for me and my daughter. Diapers don't come for free, right? But our education system, I think, has failed us. And I was never taught all of this stuff. My eyes were never open to the monetary system. What exactly is money? How does money work? How does money flow? Where does it come from? And I used to always think that, well, a dollar, it's a dollar. It's worth something, right? I mean, what are you, crazy? I can go to the store and buy 4 packages of juicy fruit bubble gum, right, for $1 or 25 cents when I was a kid, right? I think they're like $2 now. Inflation, people don't understand what inflation is. Will you ever find a stick of bubble gum for 25 cents again? No, it's only going to continue to go up. But what a lot of people don't know is that Nixon removed gold backing the dollar back in the early 70s, and it became a petrodollar. The dollar was backed by oil. So what this meant was that there was precious metals like gold. When you had a dollar, it had something backing it. Now, what a lot of people don't know and can't wrap their heads around, and it took me years, is that That dollar is only, it's like monopoly money. It's a promissory note. And if you take things further, what you'll understand because of inflation, and for those of you who don't know, it means they can print as much money as they want that has nothing backing it. Life, you could think of like a monopoly table. They put, let's say, $1 million, and a lot of people don't understand that in 2021, I think it was, they printed almost, I'm going to say 50% of the money that ever existed. The quantity of dollars that were ever existed in the United States, they printed 50% more in 2021, I believe it was, or 2020 during the pandemic, to get us out of this hole for stimulus and things like that. Money just doesn't, grow on trees, right? Actually, it kind of does. It's paper, but so a lot of people don't understand that inflation, and there's a reason why rich people don't like money. I didn't understand this at first too. Wealth does not mean that you're a multimillionaire. Wealth is all the things that you own. Money is the vehicle that gets you to wealth. As soon as people get money, because it's depreciating, right? If we're on this monopoly board of life and we had $1 million and somebody just came in with $500,000 and just laid it on the board, now we have more money in circulation, which makes things value less, right? You have to pay more money, like that stick of bubble gum, 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times as much as you had to do when the game started. So, but those who own the homes pretty much own the game, own the land, own the homes, own the oil, own the businesses and things like that. These are the people who have real assets, cash flowing assets, right? I mean, I can go in great detail here of how the wealthy don't pay taxes legally because it's just a big game. It's something I don't have time to go real deep in and get lost here. But the reason I'm bringing this up is because I think a lot of us are fooled and uneducated to know that the very thing that we're killing each other for, murdering each other, and disassociating ourselves from happiness, thinking that money will make us happy, money will make us wealthy. If we could just get more money to solve our problems, for me, I find it astounding that people are more willing to pay, say, $500 a month for a medical, to be able to see a doctor, and beyond medical is to buy medications instead of applying $500 towards growing their own food or supplements or bettering their health. And it's a snake swallowing its tail, because the harder you work for more money that you pay somebody, such as our medical system, to help you stay healthy, which does not, it almost does the complete reverse. You're only getting sicker and sicker. And it's clearly evident. I mean, nobody needs to tell you this, I guess. Just look around you. Look at yourself. What has happened, right? Walk around the grocery store. Go to the ER. It's kind of hard to tell who the patient and who the professional is. They all look sick. Everybody's overweight. Not everybody, but the majority of them. We're in a sick society of obesity, disease, that's coming from food. That's coming from things of not knowing how money works, right? The chase for the dollar is actually making you sick, because you're spending all of your time chasing that dollar, which has no value, right? You don't really own assets. There's no cash flowing assets. People don't understand that a home is not an asset. Go ask any multi-billionaire or millionaire, any kind of real estate investor. Owning your own personal house is for your own personal satisfaction. It doesn't cash flow. The only time you're able to get money from it is when you sell it, right? And then where are you going to go? This is one of the number one things I learned from what did you call that? This economist guy that I met, who studied, examined things. And one of the things he told me was that he studies statistics, and he told me that number one reason in the United States for bankruptcy is actually illnesses. And what happens is we have, say, a guy and his wife, and they buy, the 2-car garage house. They work their asses off. They save for a down payment. They even save for some retirement. Everything's going good. And then they're working for that retirement. and not paying attention to their health. And then next thing you know, cancer, diabetes, something hits them, a major catastrophe. And then God forbid, somebody's paralyzed. I've seen this where they have to pay for them thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars to get at the operation to save their life. And in some instances, worst case scenarios, the person dies. And now we have a one house income that can't support the debt that was signed into them. And as you grow older, there's a lot less that you can do. The economic the economic world, the landscape changes, right? We have all that money that was printed in 2020, as I said, now it's catching up. It doesn't just happen overnight. The waves hit the beach slowly and erode the value of the dollar. So now this person, let's just say, has been working 25 years of their life, and now all the money they saved is probably pretty much 50% less valuable. They thought they had $1 million in the bank, but that $1 million compared to when they started out only gets them about $500,000 worth of goods, meaning a pack of eggs, some milk, some gasoline, electricity, things like that, a new cell phone, right? So you think that you're retiring because you're a millionaire now, but no, it's gone backwards. So some people lose everything. And it's because we don't understand our monetary system. Money is more valuable than, say, something like a lemon. I could probably get about 10 seeds out of this lemon, which I picked from people here. I get these for free. I get oranges and lemons and grapefruits and tangerines. People don't even eat them. They're just rotting on the ground, and we take these and freeze dry them and make powders and things like that where I live. But the ROI on this lemon is, some would say, well, big deal. I can go make, $200 today while you're sitting here fucking around with that stupid little lemon. Well, this lemon came from a tree that's probably easily 20, 30 years old. Where I live here used to be orchards. But I can take this one lemon, and that's just one lemon from that tree, and literally print my own money, so to speak. So if I take those 10 seeds and grow 10 trees, and let's just say half of them die, so I only have 5 trees, I could probably get over, in 1 year, easily 100, 200 pounds of lemons per tree, right? Once they're fully developed. It takes about 5 years for fruit trees to start producing. But just off one lemon, the ROI is at least 5 more trees that will produce for a few decades. And if we keep taking our tomatoes, our watermelons, our cucumbers, our chestnuts, acorns, right, all apples, and we keep multiplying this, if we grow moringa, there's a lot of plants that people don't know. Like the moringa is the tree of life. It can sustain all mammals just on its own, just by eating its greens. And I've got one growing back here. You can literally clip a stick and stick it in the, branch off, stick it in the ground, it'll start growing. The ROI on that is immense, and it's not taxable. You can't tax somebody on a lemon, right? I took this lemon. I was given the opportunity to pick these lemons and oranges and tangerines from this person with no monetary system. There's no money value exchange here. Now I can take and slice these up. I can actually put them out in the sun on a screen if I want, and then I could go and barter for other things that I need, right? Right now I am freeze drying them, which does take a little bit of money for the electricity to do it. But I can easily turn an ROI. I have a product that comes for free. I can flip it for, I don't know, $4 of electricity, sell 100 pounds of freeze-dried lemons, and probably make a couple $100. And I have free supply. There is no pesticides. I didn't have to water it. I didn't have to buy the land that is taxed. Even if they own it outright, they still have to pay property taxes, homeowners insurance, where I just roll up and pick the fruit that's rotting on their floor, then they're happily giving it to me and saying, take as much as you want, take all of it, please. For God's sakes, it's making a mess in my yard. And this is the mentality that I look at that we need to switch. I mean, we don't need to do shit, I guess. I don't even know if anybody's even interested in this kind of thing, but this is the kind of mentality that I look at, and I see the opportunities from the individuals who don't understand what they have, who are out there working, and we basically come as almost the junk collectors, collecting all the junk that they neglect, that they let rot for free, and literally could turn into a profit. So do you see how if we flip this whole thing around, well, all these poor middle class people are working their fucking asses off, making themselves sick, going on a gamble that nobody's going to get, some sort of ailment or something, and the whole house of cards comes down, right? There's those of us who can live simple lives, easy on the planet, very clean, grow our own food, and a lot of it go pick the food that nobody wants. So there's a way to utilize the monstrosity, the monsters, I think. You know, when I experimented to grow my own food, I told you about the BC gardening, the sustainable solutionist. It was the exact same thing. It's called spin farming. And I didn't own the land. I put an ad, or I put some message on Facebook to the city where I was living in and asked anybody if they have any land they're not using, and I like to farm it. In exchange, I will maintain the land. I will pay for any water that's used, and I'll actually give you some food. I must have had like 30, 40 offers. So all these individuals, a lot of wealthy individuals up there, were paying taxes and working their asses off and doing their thing and going to Costco to buy their food. I was growing a huge, significant amount of my own food and experimenting for free. All it took was my time and gas, and paying for, a couple bucks for water every month. But I didn't have to own the land. What I'm saying is there's huge opportunity for all of us to do many, many things. And I think the biggest opportunity, the thing that I see, the reason why a intentional community of some sorts, gathering of more people, the more and more people we have who understand this way of living, who want to live this way, want to learn, or already implementing it, as we grow in numbers, the more powerful we become, and the burden of work becomes less and less. Now we're able to barter. I may be able to find a shit ton of lemons from this client I have, and oranges and stuff, but somebody about maybe 20 miles from here might have access to apple trees, which I don't. And maybe we can meet in the middle, and I could bring a bunch of freeze dried lemon powder and fresh lemons in exchange for some apples. Maybe even some wild pig game that somebody caught, right? Somebody hunted. So there's barter and trade. And I think the biggest one is us living together. Now, I don't want to, this is going all over the place. Sorry about that. I personally need my own space, but I don't mind living in a setting where I have my own room or my own pallet shack while other people have theirs, and we can meet in the community and work together. And I think this is a big opportunity. And for me, this is an older gentleman who owns this water buffalo farm that I spoke about earlier. He's in his 70s, and he's interested in partnering up with somebody. And I think once he gets a load of me, I'm going to blow his fucking socks off. I'm running the place. I'm going to run that place like an efficient business. And we're taking off, me and my daughter, for 2 weeks. We're going to go do a trial run there just to make sure everything's going to work out. If it works out, we will return back here to our pellet little hovel, make some more roofing jobs. I'm a roofing contractor by trade. I need to get rid of some of the small debt that I've incurred, and save up some money so that we can drive up there, maybe spend about 6 months to a year. I don't know. I want to drive all the way from California to Florida so I don't have to come back. I can come back whenever I want, and really give us a huge test run. So 2 week trial and error. They got us on probation. We got them on probation. We just want to see if we all jive together. If that works, I come back for a few months, tidy up this place, go back driving there, spend however much time I want. I don't see how this is not going to work. If it is everything that I think it is, where I have the capacity, the space, the land to be able to grow pretty much all my own food and make a comfortable living, then we come back here, sell everything that we own, keep only the things like my rocket mass stove, my thermal cookers and things like that. my freeze dryer, all my solar systems that I've built here, and my gardening systems, my baskets, and head out there for good. And maybe make some videos showing you guys what we're doing to be the living example, to show you that there's some alternatives. And while Daniel Schmachenberger and all these people are out there showing us all the bad stuff, and we do need them, I hope to fill in the gap to actually show, which is most likely unsexy and what people don't want to see, actually show the living solutions of how I am the sustainable solutionist, how I am the unconventionalist. I go against the grain, not just for, to cause trouble or, to be contrarian for no reason. It's because pretty much every single fucking thing that we do as human beings right now, especially in the big city, from money to health to spirituality, happiness, our food's poisoned, we're poisoning the air, we're poisoning ourselves. All of it makes no fucking sense, one bit at all. My question to people is not what's wrong. Find me one thing that's right, that feels good, that that we are doing, and it's a good thing for both the species of this planet, for the planet itself, and for ourselves and those around you. Show me one thing. And that, I think, is the scariest question, because once we start to think this way, instead of looking at all the negatives, is trying to count the positives, the negatives far outweigh the positives. So something needs to get done, at least in my personal world. And I want to bring you guys along because I know it could be a lonely place. I want to talk about awakening. I think it's Carl Jung gave a good bit, and Alan Watts. I've been trying to figure this out because it's been an awakening period for the past couple of years for me, and it's a very strange, at some points, very painful process and very lonely. I'm a loner by nature. I don't really need people around me, but I know a lot of people, if they've gone through what I'm going through, if you're seeing the things that I'm seeing, it could be a self-destructive modem of comprehension. There are many things that I don't even feel comfortable talking about what I see going on around me, because I don't think that some people can physically, mentally handle it. Some of it goes pretty far out there. So far that I'm driven to give my life to make changes. Like I said, if I don't make these changes, I will die here. I know that. I will not be able to live here. I will not be able to survive in this muck, in this pollution. I'm going to lose my fucking mind. I'm just not built for it. And if you are, and you're looking for somebody who gets it, hopefully you know by the words I speak of where I'm at, who I'm at, what my endeavors are, what my motives are, then reach out and become part of this, become an unconventionalist. Somebody needs to do something, right? But will it have an effect? I don't think so. I think the world will keep on going. The best bet that we have is to create the love and peace inside of ourselves and try to find others to accumulate and to be able to share that and join forces while the world pretty much goes down. But maybe in some way that people will see, for instance, on my farm, I did have a couple of locals who saw what I was doing, and they said, I want to see this with my own eyes. And when they came to my farm and they ate such things as the pineapple ground cherries and the strawberries that I grew and the herbs, you could see a flush of blood in their face because it was such an enlightened experience for them. The food was so sweet, and it was so tender and flavorful that people said, I never knew that tomatoes tasted like this. I never knew that cucumbers or these strawberries can literally taste like this. I feel like I've had a cold my whole life and couldn't really taste my food. This is true medicine. Like, they would not shut up. They're like, this is freaking amazing is what this is. And to me, I've been eating it for a long time, so it didn't really occur to me what it was that I built until I seen strangers come in and sample it. So I'm hoping that people will get a taste. And I'm hoping that people know that the design that we have, that we've learned through public education and the institutions of the design, let's just say, that are out there, of this matrix sort of world we're living in, have killed your curiosity, murdered your magic, and maybe you're coming to and you're starting to waken up too. And I think that you can get through this. You definitely can. You just need to be shown that this is not the world we were intended to live in. We need community. We need people. We need to work together. We need to save our planet. We need to save ourselves. Our great deficit is ourselves. This is not a physical war, United States against something else. This is a physical, spiritual war between ourselves. Look at how they've separated our children from us, right when they're born. Look at how they're separating the sexes now, where males and females are starting to fight, where a man and a woman don't understand each other anymore. Families, everybody thinks they need to go out and do everything their own. It was the greatest trick, I think, put on humanity, where everybody wants to have their own house, create their own food, do everything alone. We weren't meant to do that. This is why a lot of things go south, why they fail. Think about it. If we had a community of people and somebody did get hurt or somebody passed away, got sick, there's probably, at least 10, hopefully a lot of 50 other people that got your back. You won't lose your land because we all own this land. We'll pull the slack. We'll keep the tension on the rope while you need to hold some slack and let go and take care of yourself and handle your business. That's the way we become indestructible as individuals. And I think to take the stress off ourselves, to not have to live this unhealthy, meaningless life chasing paper in the wind. Right? This monetary system, there's no value. Educate yourself. Go look at what people like Mark Moss, let me see if I can name some here, Robert Kiyosaki, Ken McElroy. A lot of these people who are multimillionaire investors, do the math. There's all kinds of different rebel capitalists, right? Go listen to Jack Spirko at the Survival Podcast. Look at a lot of these people who are very successful and listen to what they say about money. I think Henry Ford, you can look him up. Henry Ford said, if the public knew the way the banking system worked, there would be a revolution the next morning. Go do some homework and read a book called The Creature from Jekyll Island about how the central banks were formed. Go do your own homework and know that the feds have nothing to do with the government, and they have, basically, they print as much money as they want, and they're not funded by the government. They're basically their own entity. The Federal Reserve has no reserves. There's no gold or nothing by it. All they have is a money printing machine. They run and say what the United States does with money, completely separate from what the president or any of the government establishments have an offer. Go look that up for yourself. I know a lot of people are confused, thinking that the feds are, like Jerome Powell, are actually the government. They're not. And I know that's very hard to wrap your head around, but do your own homework and open your eyes to see what's around, or stay in this burning world having the conveniences, the milk delivered to your door, being able to just pop up your phone and watch things from a distance. But it's not until you see those flames or that water rising or that smoke coming in your own backyard and the riots and the things happening right outside that front door, when it starts coming close to your home, when I think you'll know. I think it takes a catastrophe for all of us to really get a match lit under our asses to actually do something about it. In the words of Confucius, he said, the knife is sharp, to his student. And his student says, I know, master, I understand. And he says, no, you don't, but you will. And one day the student is working around with that knife, and he actually cuts himself pretty hard, and he just sits there bleeding, and comes to Confucius and says, my master, that knife is really fucking sharp. And Confucius says, well, now you know. And from that point on, the student really knew, understood. But it took him getting cut to really have the experience, because you can tell people, right? In this moment, you can show people videos and things and explain it to them, but they just don't get it until it actually happens physically to them. And the thing I've told my children, and I will tell you, is please don't cut yourself so deep that you bleed out and there's no return. Or do the same with your relationships or your environment, right? Your community, to where there's no return, because some things aren't reversible. But unfortunately, the majority of us have to get cut before we actually take things serious.